Greetings everyone, and welcome back finally to another episode of Bobolog. My name is Bobby Olan and I am a knitter and fibre crafter in Victoria, Australia. And I am coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and I would like to acknowledge them and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. It has been quite a while. It has been longer than I expected since recording. I believe I had said that I had only hoped to take December off, but I have pretty much given myself a whole other month for various reasons. And yeah, I just thought I'd have a bit of a chat and say hello to all of you again and sort of explain what my thoughts are for this channel for this year, and how it's all sort of going to be a bit different. So yes, so to get started, I guess I'll chat a bit about what I've been up to. Clearly I am not used to this again and talking at a camera, so excuse me if I'm a bit extra lost for words and all of that. Anyway, so like I said, when I left off in whenever it was, I last did an episode. Oh, you know what? Did I say I was taking November off and I might be back in December? So I've had nearly 3 months off vlogging. Anyway, okay, not important, moving on. I took a break mainly because I was starting a new job in retail and I didn't know how many hours I was going to be getting, especially as it was going into the busy Christmas holiday period. And because my previous job was a more standard, full-time desk job, 9 to 5, what have you, and this was me going back to casual shift work, I really didn't know what my schedule was going to be like and how I was going to be able to balance everything with that. But to be honest, the other reason that I took a break is that I just really wasn't feeling great. In October, I think I might have mentioned that it was the first anniversary of my Nana's passing, and I had just been feeling really sad and low and lousy the whole month leading up to it. So I felt like I just really needed to stop and oh, I just hit my, you can't see it, but that noise was me just hitting my ball winder. I felt like I just needed to stop and sort of reset and take a break from all of the pressures that I'd put on myself with doing the vlog regularly and doing, you know what that productive mindset is like when you're a crafter and you kind of feel like you just have to be like working on something and you have to be making things all the time. I just wanted to take a break from everything. Yeah, and to be honest, after I finished all of the gift things that I needed to get done before the end of the year, I just stopped. I just stopped crafting. I thought that if I was going to stop knitting, I'd probably at least do some more of the other crafts that I do. I've got some pieces of material here that I'm still supposedly meant to be cutting up for a quilt that I haven't touched in a long time, and I've still got a cross stitch project in one of those bags, and I've still got a the raffia basket project in that front bag there that says Weekend Studios. So I have all of these other projects that are not knitting and not crochet. And I also thought I'd spin, that's on this side, there it is, on my electric eel wheel, but I really just did not feel like doing anything. I just wanted to do nothing, basically, especially with work. I was working quite a bit and my shifts were kind of all over the place, mornings and evenings and what have you, and I actually have found it quite a struggle to, I was going to say get into a rhythm, but the point is that you can't really get into a rhythm because you're not on a regular schedule. And I was just finding that I was just tired a lot. I wasn't used to it, obviously, and I just found that when I wasn't working or when I had half days off, I was just so tired and I just did not feel like doing anything. So I actually took up reading again. I used to be a really big reader when I was in high school, especially, and I have picked up books here and there as an adult, but I'll read a couple and then I'll remember why I sort of stopped reading, or I don't read as often, and I'll stop again. And the reason that I'm not such an avid reader now is that I don't know how to stop. So I most often read at night in bed before I go to sleep. And yeah, I don't know how to put a book down. When I'm reading an actual physical book, it's actually a bit better because when my partner comes to bed, and he comes to bed later than I do, he likes to have all the lights off, which was actually good for me when I'm reading a physical book, because I've bought a few various book lights here and there, but I've never thought that any of them were particularly good. So when I turn off my bedside table lamp, the book goes down, and I actually try to go to sleep at a decent time. But then I started borrowing ebooks from my library through an app on my phone, so when the lights go off I can keep reading, and I don't know how to stop. So I haven't been getting much sleep, plus I've had the all over the place work schedule, so I have just been tired a lot. And reading a lot, and then, you know, during the day when I had days off and what have you, I'd read more often than not on the couch downstairs. So I was really not feeling like doing crafting, and I didn't want to make myself do crafting, and that's mostly kind of where I've been at. I have picked it up again recently, but for a long time I was just not doing much, at least not compared to what I had been doing. And I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I didn't kind of feel like I had lost my mojo, because that has happened before, and I felt like I've always been a knitter, but sometimes I've lost my mojo. But I've still felt like a knitter, and I was just in, you know, the slump phase of it. But I was really actually feeling like not a knitter and not a crafter anymore. And I was a bit worried that the desire wouldn't come back. So that was kind of interesting. But I was enjoying reading again so much that it didn't actually like worry me greatly. But anyway, I'm rambling on and on about that here. I should probably move on to something else. Yes, so yeah, I think also because I was just working so much, it didn't really feel very Christmassy to me. Is that how I want to say it? Like it didn't really feel like Christmas to me. I still had the family celebration on my side, which was really good. We do a themed party every year, and we also do a dessert challenge competition. And the dress up theme this year was pajama party, which was actually my idea. So it was really fun seeing everyone dressed up in PJs, especially the families who wore all matching sets of PJs for the occasion. It was really cute. And the dessert challenge was mango, so I tried making a sourdough mango cobbler, which I had never made before. I think it turned out all right, but yeah, that was that. But then on my partner's side, most of them got COVID, so we actually had to postpone that Christmas celebration, and we didn't do it until like a week or so into January. Yeah, I think like a week into January. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange Christmas. And then on New Year's Eve as well, I did the closing shift, which isn't super late. But then the next day on New Year's Day, I did the opening shift, which isn't super early, but still the combination of the two made me not really feel like doing anything for New Year's. And we never really do much, but yeah, like some of my family still got together for a little party, but I just went home, went to bed, woke up, and went back to work. So that was kind of what my holiday season was like. Let's see, what else? And yeah, I have been really absent from Instagram. I'd obviously planned on taking a break from the vlog, but then I also just kind of stopped posting on Instagram as well, which wasn't planned, but I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have anything that I really felt like sharing, and it was kind of nice taking a break from that and just having all pressures off. Yeah. So I think a little while ago I posted on Instagram a "I'm back, hello" post, and then since then I've only done one other post because yeah, I'm just trying to be a little bit more. I don't want to. I'm not interested in. How do I say this? I'm sure a lot of you understand what I mean. There can be a bit of pressure associated with keeping up a regular presence on these social media channels. And I only have this vlog and I only have Instagram, so it's not a lot really, but I still didn't want to. I only want to post basically if I really feel like that there's something that I want to share or that I want to say. And yeah, so that's kind of how that has been. Oh gosh, this is such a rambly episode, isn't it? But there you go. I'm just trying to have a catch up and a chat with all of you. So anyway, I guess let's talk about the stuff that I have done. I'm going to try to go through just a quick list of all of the things that I have worked on, and I feel like it's going to sound like a lot, considering I've been saying that I haven't felt like crafting, but yeah, it hasn't felt. It's like there was definitely like over a month where I did not do any kind of crafting at all, and it's a lot less than I normally would have done. So anyway, going through the list, I did 2 pairs of the Stepping Stone socks by Clara, both in Peyton's Wanderer. I think I might have finished one of those pairs to show you in the previous episode, and I had probably started on the second pair. So they went off to the UK to my sister and her fiance. And then I also finished the extension of the Greenwich sweater. So that was just elongating the front of the sweater because it was cropped in front, long in the back, and she didn't like it quite that cropped. So I finished re-knitting that whole front, re-seaming it, and I sent that over to the sister in the UK as well as a very, very belated birthday present. I also made a beanie for their son, so their first baby. And I followed the directions for the 18-month size because he is only turning 1 at the very, very start of March, I believe. And so I thought the 18-month would be great. It's the Anker's hat, by the way, is what I made. The Anker's hat by PetiteKnit. And I made that in Cedar Click DK with wool. Sorry if you could hear that hammering just then. There's construction going on next door. Anyway, I didn't do any swatching or anything, but I followed the directions for the 18-month size, and they could just get it over his head, like stretching it. So I'm going to make another in a bigger size, but yeah, they're actually moving back, which is really exciting. What's the date today? Yeah, they'll be here in under 2 weeks. They'll have moved back to Melbourne in under 2 weeks. So I might make the new size beanie when I have seen him in person for the first time. Oh my god, sorry, I just realized, like, yeah, I haven't met him in real life yet. So oh, that's so exciting. Anyway, so I need to reknit that. I also made myself an eye mask. So it is this one here. It's the Deep Sleep Mask, which is a free pattern by George Wallace. And this is 100% cotton. It's King Cole Cotton Soft DK, just checking my notes. And yeah, like I said, I hadn't been sleeping well, so I don't wear this every night, but you know, if I wake up in the middle of the night or something like that and I can't get back to sleep, I put this on just as an extra little aid to try to help me get back to sleep faster. So the eye bit here is actually it's knit in the round, so it's like a double layer material, so it's really soft. And then of course the double layer also helps block out light. So I really like this pattern. It does block out pretty much all of the light for me, but I think I would actually prefer if it was a bit, because it's like this on my eye, I think I'd find it a bit more comfortable if it was just taller and covered more surface area, but I do think it's really good. It being 100% cotton, I was a bit concerned about the band. I knew that I wanted to create a garter stitch band, so it would have, you know, that stretchy rib effect. The pattern itself, I believe, is just the front eye bit, and you attach elastics to it, but I wanted to knit the whole thing because I've always thought that like this kind of band on an eye mask would be more comfortable, but because it's 100% cotton and has no natural elasticity, I was concerned that it wouldn't it would eventually just stick. It would stretch out and it would hold that, because it would have no memory to go back into the non-stretched out form. So what I did is, when I got up to doing the band, I switched to knitting back and forth. So I did one row of, I think I did like, yeah. So if I'm knitting, throwing pencils everywhere. If I'm knitting in the round, on magic loop, I've got my 2 needles. So then when I did the band, I just held the 2 needles together and sort of did a knit 2 together by knitting one off the front and one off the back to decrease the stitches so that I could just knit a flat band. And then I held it together with some knitting in elastic, which I had bought for holding with yarn when I'm knitting the heels and toes of socks and that kind of thing for a little extra reinforcement, but because it's elastic, I thought that would be perfect to add some elasticity and memory to this, and you can see that it does bounce back. So I think that has worked quite well. And I did just knit the band until I completely ran out of all of the yarn that I had left of this, because it was a leftover bit of yarn from when I made something years and years and years ago. So I'm gonna take off my glasses. So it is a bit like it fits comfortably. It's not really tight, and I still have room to like pull it a lot further out, but part of me feels like I could have knit the band a bit shorter so that it would hold a bit more firmly, but it does hold. So I'm happier to have used up all of the yarn than to have that extra little bit of a tighter fit. So that's that one there. Finished projects. So I also did a couple of crochet things. One is the Cactus Hand by Svetlana Hurova. So this is a pattern that I spotted on Etsy. I think it was an ad on Etsy when I was looking for something else, and I saw it and I fell in love with the pattern immediately, and I knew exactly who I had to knit it for. I have two cousins that I'm sort of closer to than the rest of my family, and yeah, I knew that I just had to make it for each of them for Christmas. So I did that. I actually started making one for myself first. Let's see if I have it here. So I had this yarn that I'd bought from a trash and treasure market, and it's this yarn here, and hopefully you can see, but it's quite it's a bit like slubby, it's uneven. I think it was like a hand spun naturally dyed yarn. This was in a pile of, like, in a whole lot of yarns that I bought, and some of them were rug yarns, and some of them had like handwritten labels that said RBG Plant Craft Cottage, and from what I could find out, that's the Royal Botanic Gardens. It's like a little cottage that they have where they sometimes have workshops on, I guess, spinning and dyeing and stuff. So I assume that that's what that is, and I thought that this kind of variation in the yarn would look really great and give texture to like something that's meant to be a plant, because the thing is meant to be a cactus. But when I started crocheting it up, you kind of lose all of that. You get the color variation, of course, but you don't really get like the thick and thin and like all the slubby bits. Like, to me at least, they're not really obvious anymore. You've lost that. So that's the one that I had started for myself. When I made the ones for my cousins, I got this yarn from Spotlight, the Four Seasons Montana, because as you would know if you've watched me for a while, I really love tweed yarn, and I thought that this green tweed with its flecks of like the brown and the white, and whatever other colors it has in there, I thought that would look really great as a plant material, and it did. I thought it turned out really, really well. So I may actually rip out all of this and make the one for myself in that one, and then the three of us cousins will all have matching cactus hands. The only thing that won't match probably is the pot on the plant, because for theirs I had used a self-striping yarn that I believe is an acrylic yarn, and I really only have little bits and pieces of leftovers of that. I don't know that I have enough to make a full pot for myself. So I was thinking that I would use this color of the Serdar Click DK for the pot. I don't know if you can see the color in it, but it is just so beautiful, just how it's all been blended, and you can still see all of like there's so many different colors in that making this up, but if you look at it from a distance it's like a reddy brown, but close up it's just gorgeous. So I might make the pot out of that. I might try it with the other yarn first and see how far I get, but yeah, we'll see. Oh, the thing that I wanted to mention about that is in the pattern she just says to stuff it and then to sew the fingers into whatever, you know, form you want them to have. But a few people had done things like put wire in them so that they could bend them and the finger, like the hand, was movable, which I wanted to do as well, but I was talking to my partner about the project and he had the brilliant idea. Oh, I didn't keep one. He had the brilliant, oh, there is one in here. He had the brilliant idea of using bendy hair rollers, which I had no idea what they were, but he was like, oh, you know, those things that everyone was using in the 80s. So I actually found some at Kmart, which are like this. They're like a foam thing around a wire that is obviously bendy, but like it holds its shape into whatever you bend it to really well. And it was so good. It was just really great because I didn't need to worry about, you know, the wire poking through at the end of the finger, like when it's been moved a lot, and stuffing around the wire right because it's already padded. The only thing is that I did have to shave them. As you can see here, I had to do a bit of trimming to get them to fit into the various finger sizes, but just worked so well. So well. Yeah, so eventually I'll get around to making the one for myself. That one is a paid pattern, I should mention. So like I said, I saw it on Etsy, but because I love Ravelry so much, I went and found it on Ravelry and I bought it through Ravelry, but you can get it on Etsy. So yeah, that's that. The other crochet project that I did is one that I actually just finished last night. But it's not finished. It's just finished. I mean, really, I don't even know if I can call it finished. I'll just show it to you. It's called the Happy Project Basket by, where am I at? It's by Ariane Gallizzi. It's another free pattern, and I did make some changes to it. So her basket is just, so you knit, you know, the round flat bit and then you just knit. It's crochet. You crochet the base and then you crochet the sides straight up and then you do the handle. For starters, this is the yarn that I was crocheting around. Her patterns suggests a nylon cord, which is going to be a lot firmer than this, but I really wanted to use this because I have it. I'm trying to use up yarns that I have, and I've never known what to do with this because it does feel a bit rough. I only had 2 skeins of it, and they were actually just single like this. Like each one is a 2-ply. So what I did is I ran each one through my my spinning wheel and added twist to it, and then I had them on, I had one on each of the bobbins there, and then when I was crocheting I'd just pull some out and I would sort of ply them together manually, crochet a bit, and then, you know, pull out more and ply them together manually as I needed and as I was crocheting, which is a bit fiddly, but it worked out well. And I did that just because I wanted a bit of a firmer yarn than what I would have gotten if I had just held the two together. At least that's my theory. So anyway, I love, again, the tweediness of this yarn and all of the like the flecks of the other color in it. So the first change that I did is that once I got started on, so that's the bottom of it there. Once I got started on the sides, I did a round of decreases, because as you can see on the bottom here, you're really just seeing the yarn that you're using to crochet around the cord. I'll call it a cord. And I really wanted this yarn to be more visible. And then after I did a few rounds of that going straight up, I started thinking, you know, this basket is actually pretty small. I want it to be a bit bigger. So I started just sort of tapering it out as I went each round. So it's got a bit of a funny shape to it, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I finished up all that I had left of the Earth Unique cotton. So again, really happy about just using up all of my leftover bits of yarn. Let's see. Oh, this one at the bottom, that is again all that I had left of Lion Brand cotton bamboo yarn, and I used that up and put that at the bottom because again I knew that I wouldn't have enough of the earth to make a really big basket, so I thought putting that at the base where it won't really be seen would help stretch the yarn further. The other thing that I did differently from the project is she has you with just like a single strand of the cord. She just has you crochet all the way along it and then rejoin it and continue around. Again, because I had such a limited amount of this and I had plenty of this, I just went all the way around until I had just enough yarn to make this tab here, and then I had no more earth left to do the handles, so instead what I did was I crocheted an I-cord. So I actually really love how these handles turned out. They're like thick and squishy, and I think that they just show up that yarn so beautifully. So happy accident there. So the reason that this is not finished is because I have to attach a button. That's what this is for, this thing, so that when you close it, you put a button there. And I thought I put the button inside it, but it's not in here. Anyway, it's a little wooden button, and I'm sure I'll show this to you again if and when I actually finish it. So that's that, and I think it's really cute. It's because of the yarn that I've used, it is a lot like floppier than if you use the nylon cord that she called for, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think that the yarns look quite nice together. Yeah, and really happy about using up yarns. So I have a lot more of this left than I was hoping to have. So I have ideas about what I'll do with that, but I'll tell you about that when I get to it, because I meant to go through all of these projects really quickly, and it started off well, and then I started talking more and more. So the last thing that I'll mention, I thought I had things prepared, but clearly I am not prepared. So let me just grab it. So the last thing that I am working on that isn't actually finished is I am making it's called the Bear Sweater, and it's by Amy Bahrt. It's a free pattern, and I'm making that in Sirdar Click DK with wool, and that's some of it there. I think the pattern calls for worsted weight yarn, so I have had to do a few recalculations to make it out of DK, because this is a yarn that I have in my stash that I had in the right quantities and colors to be able to make this. So that's the front of it there, and then at the end of it I've still got to make a little snout and embroider on the eyes and that kind of thing. So that's the front of the bear sweater. I think it's coming out really cute. There's the back of it there, and the only sort of design alteration that I am making, or that I have made so far, is that I've decided to put the bear on the back of it as well. So that's the back piece there. So you can see that he's got a chin in the front piece, but on the back it's just straight across his neck, and then obviously the back one won't have a snout and eyes as well. So yeah, I think that'll be cute, and I am managing to again use up leftover yarns. I have like bigger projects that I'm excited to work on and that I really want to work on, but I have been more excited about using up stuff that I have had for ages and have been used for other projects and are just sitting there as kind of leftovers. So really happy to be using up that yarn. Yeah, I guess that's all that I have been working on. So what else can I talk about? Yeah, so I didn't start knitting that bear sweater until earlier this month when I really felt like knitting again. And I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember exactly what it was that brought that feeling back. But yeah, while I was taking a break from knitting and crafting and everything, I also just completely stopped watching vlogs and listening to podcasts and that kind of thing. So I just wasn't having any exposure to it. And then when I did start looking at things again, when I finally opened up Instagram again and was seeing people's projects again, and you know, I had a look through Ravelry at my queue and stuff just to see, what were the things that I wanted to make again. Then I started getting excited about working on stuff again. So I got started, and yeah, I've been spending quite a bit of time looking at my queue on Ravelry and trying to figure out what are the ones that I really want to make, that I also own the patterns for and that I also have the yarn for, because I really think I really want to be going through my stash and using things up. And yeah, like I have yarn that I have had for a really long time, and I've known exactly what I want to make with it for a really long time, and it just sits there, and that's starting to really frustrate me. There are yarns that I have had for a really long time that I don't know what I'm doing with, and that's fine. That's not a problem. That can stay there. But for yarns that I know what I want to do with, and for yarns that I have the patterns for, I really feel like I should just do them. I should just work on them. I should just get through them, and then I can have more enjoyment in getting new things and pairing up new yarns and new patterns and that kind of thing. But I should stop just being so like trigger happy with buying stuff and not doing anything with it, and I should be getting more trigger happy with making the things that I am buying the things for. So yes, that's kind of pretty much all that I have to say. thank you for sticking around for this long. The only other thing that I will mention is that I don't really know what I'm going to be doing with this vlog for the rest of the year. I've still been getting quite a few shifts each week at work, but I think I'm gonna cut down on the number of hours that I've been doing, so that I do have more time to be working on projects and to be doing this vlog. I don't know if I've mentioned, but I've also started making sourdough a bit late to the party, but it's not just bread that I've been making. I've been making oat slices, and I tried bagels for the first time the other day, and sourdough pancakes, and I've been finding that really satisfying to do. But the bread especially, I need time for. Like, I feel like I need at least a day and a half in a row where I can really do that. And sometimes I just don't have that in a week, particularly, working in retail. I've been working a lot of weekends now as well. So yeah, I've talked too much about work and my schedule being all over the place. But yeah, I want more time to be, baking for the house and doing all the other chores and working on projects and doing this vlog. So, but I don't actually know, of course, what my schedule is going to be, how I'm going to feel. So I'm not going to go back to doing a regular every 2 weeks kind of thing like I had done last year. Instead, I'm kind of just going to take it as it comes with this vlog, and hopefully I can at least do like a monthly roundup thing, like most of the people I watch seem to do. So I should be able to manage that as well, hopefully, fingers crossed. The other thing that I have been thinking is I might try doing like project focused videos instead of vlogs where I kind of talk about everything. And I haven't really decided. Yeah. So who knows what you'll see from me this year, but hopefully you still like everything that I have to say and share and show. So yes. Oh, I've clearly not done segments with this one because it's just been a big catch up, but the one segment that I do want to stick with for sure is Heartful of Craft. And I am very grateful that I have allowed myself this time to step back and reset and then come back to it naturally. And I hope that all of you are giving yourselves I hope that you're all being patient with yourselves and giving yourselves the care and the time and whatever it is that you need, or if you are just fine and happy crafting away and doing all of that, then may you continue finding all of the joy and happiness in that. So yeah, that's all that I have to say. Thanks again for coming back, and if you're new, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Yeah, fare thee well.